والله يدعو إلى دار السلام ويهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم.
Islam is neither maze nor craze. Islam is giving Allah praise. Islam is keeping up the pace. Islam is for every race.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, and welcome to this episode of the Beauties of Islam. Beautiesofislam.com is where you'll find our website, where we'll be talking about more of this subject, give you the details and explanations behind what we're saying in our short little episodes that we're giving you now. My name is Yusuf Estes, and for the next few minutes I want to continue talking about the importance of understanding the way to Almighty Allah. How do I get to God? And this is something that we've been talking about in numerous of these episodes, and explaining that there's only some things that Allah is going to accept. In fact, He made it real clear that there's something He will never accept. And what He will not accept is something in Arabic called Shirk. What is Shirk? Shirk is to associate partners with Allah in worship. And whoever commits this, whoever worships others alongside of Allah or instead of Allah, then He will never accept that. He tells us in the Quran in chapter 4, Surah An-Nisa, verse 48. He does not forgive shirk, but anything less than this, He can forgive. So this is one of the things that we definitely must avoid at all costs, not setting up partners with Allah, because that would not be the way to get close to Him, would it? And how do I understand that? Well, shirk has been described in different ways by some of our scholars over the many centuries. One of the things that they tell us is that there's something called Shirk al-Akbar. They've described it based on many of the teachings and findings in Islam from the Quran and the teachings of Muhammad, peace be upon him. This Shirk al-Akbar is meaning a great. Akbar means great, greatest of this act of associating partners with Allah. This is someone who commits this. They are putting a partner with Allah in a way that can be no mistake about it. This is something huge. They have said that God is a man, or a man is a God, or they have said that something like a tree is a God. They're worshiping something clearly not Allah. But they are claiming that this is worship to God. There's another type of shirk which we find, and it's been described by the scholars, as shirk al-asghar, a smaller word, but not necessarily a smaller deed, because it still is shirk, and it's unforgivable. That's when someone is going to be worshiping something like they have, say, I believe in God, and my way to get to Him is through this way. For instance, they said they have a lucky amulet that they carry with them, a bracelet that gives them good luck, or a rabbit's foot that brings good luck. But you have to wonder, if the rabbit's foot is such good luck, it wasn't very lucky for the rabbit, was it? I mean, after all, here's a rabbit going around on crutches saying, oh gosh, that rabbit's foot wasn't any good for me. Why is it going to work for them? But to come back to what I'm trying to convey to you, is that these things called shirk won't work. They're not going to be acceptable to Allah. It's come to the third type of shirk that they talk about, shirk al-kafi. And this is what's called a hidden type of associating partners with Allah. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, spoke about it like this. He said, could you see a black ant on a black rock on a black night? In other words, a night with no moon, no stars, totally black. Here's now a black rock with a black ant running across it. Are you going to see it? I think not. And I think you understand what he's saying. This is something we all have to be very careful of, because it could be anywhere at any time. And here we're going to give an example that for instance, somebody said, well, I believe in God and He's the only one that I worship, and, you know, I hope that He takes care of us. We want to thank Him for everything, and knock on wood, we'll never worship anything else. Okay, there's a big mistake. By going like this, the knocking on wood actually is a form of shirk. Why did you knock on the wood? Maybe you didn't know this, but that comes from a religion, an ancient religion in the European part of the world, and they worshipped a god called Woden, and they believed that he existed in the trees and the plants and all of nature. And that's where the word wood in English comes from, this god they worshipped in the wood. And they used to knock on wood thinking that they were basically being in touch or making a connection with their god, Woden. Now, if somebody did that accidentally, that might be a different story. But when people are habitually doing these same things, for instance, thank our lucky stars. You might hear somebody say that. Again, this doesn't work in Islam because they have said the stars could bring them a benefit. I'd like to give you an example of this. It was the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that told us in a clear hadith or saying, right after the morning prayer that was called Fajr, he turned to his companions and he talked to them about the rain. They had had rain during the night. He said, this morning somebody became a disbeliever and somebody became a believer. As for the one who said that that rain that came during the night was because such and such a star, or stars, constellations, they became a disbeliever in Allah by believing in those stars. But as far as the one who said that the rain was caused by Allah, they became a believer. So it's very clear that when people start to talk about their lucky stars or astrology or any of these so-called innocent little things they like to do, it's not acceptable to Allah and it's considered disbelief. Even when somebody goes to their lucky horoscope to see what kind of day they're going to have, this is a problem, a serious problem for even Muslims. Maybe you said, well, I was born in the month of July. That happens to be the Gemini, and I believe that I should look up and see what kind of day I'm going to have tomorrow. If you do it, you're going to have a real bad day because it means that you're not following Islam, and certainly that's not the way to Allah. We've got a lot more about this, but I want to take a break, give you a chance to think about it, and then when we come back, I want to tell you an explicit example of what is shirk, what is not, talking about how to get to God, all on Beauties of Islam. Sit right there, we'll be right back.
Islam is keeping up the pace. Islam is forever.